This is the sound we'll make in this video. If you don't feel like watching the entire tutorial, you can go to my website, link in the description, and download this preset for free. Now let's get on with it. My name is Matt Flank, let's get started. So the first thing we need is the correct MIDI notes. I'm just gonna copy this one because I already have it. These are the notes. Right off the bat it sounds like this. The first thing that I noticed when making this sound is how there is a second oscillator playing a different tone, or there is two notes playing at the same time, and the second note is 3 semitones down. As you can hear. So the next step for me would be to adjust the envelope. I always say this in my tutorials, the envelope is so important to get a good feel of what the sound is going to be, so we'll do that right now. So we can leave the sustain all the way up, but I'm going to decrease the release because there is basically no release. We're going to set the decay a little bit lower, just like that, around 250 milliseconds, and I'm going to leave the attack as it is as well. So now that we have our envelope, let's go to the next part. And the next thing I heard is that there's some kind of a noise oscillator playing as well. So we're gonna add some noise. I'm going to pitch this down. I found that 7 semitones works for this one. We're gonna drag the volume down to around 0.5, 0.6, like that should be fine. And we're gonna leave the rest as it is. So next up, if you listen closely, you can hear that there's some kind of a WahWah effect going on. Listen again and try to listen to the noise. That's pretty much what I hear. And to create a WahWah effect, I explained this in a previous tutorial as well, you need to create a filter with a notch that is making some movement. So we're going to add a filter, we're going to send oscillator 1 and oscillator 2 to this filter, and we're going to select a filter which is in digital notch spread. And what we're going to do is we're going to decrease the mix to around 45%. So that way we get a nice and clean notch filter. What we now want to do is we want to move this around so we get a WahWah effect. Let's listen to it and how it is going to sound if I move it manually. So that's kind of the effect you want. And to do this I'm going to use an LFO. We're going to set the frequency to tempo dotted, leave it at 1 second, and leave all the rest as it is, and we're going to map this to the filter frequency. We're going to set this filter frequency to around -2.5 semitones, just right there. And we're going to set this value like just below 60. And if you listen now, it's still not working because we forgot to set the trigger mode to sync. We're now kind of getting the effect we want, and you can always reduce this by reducing the mix of the filter. Next up we're going to add a second filter, which is a low pass, and we're going to send all the oscillators, including the sampler which is playing the white noise, through this low pass filter. We're going to drag the resonance down, not all the way, but almost all the way down. We're going to set the frequency to around 47, 48 semitones, just right there, so it's a very slight filter. And we're going to automate this as well, but instead of using an LFO for this one, we're going to use an envelope. So we're going to create a new envelope, and we're going to drag the sustain all the way down, leave the release as it is, and drag the decay down a little bit to around 0.18 milliseconds. Just right there is perfect. We leave the rest as it is and we map this to the frequency of filter 2. We're going to change this value to around 17, right there, so it is not too over the top. This is what we have now. So the next step is to go to the effects. And in the effects, we're going to add 5 different effects, which is going to be distortion, chorus, compressor, reverb, and delay. So let's start off by adding some distortion. Drag it to the top, leave this on soft clip, and we're going to turn the drive up almost all the way to around 24 dB, and drag the mix down to around 11 o'clock, right there. If you want the exact values again, you can go to my website, mattflank.com, and download this preset for free. So now that we have the distortion, it sounds like this. Massive difference as you can hear. What I noticed is that there's some kind of a really wet effect on this original song, because it doesn't sound so in your face as this one. So we are going to add a chorus, and we're going to set the mix to around 70%, 69. Nice. And we're going to leave this as it is, but we're going to change the voices to 4 voices. And I had to really mess around with the depth and delay values to get the right amount, but I finally found something that worked, which is the depth at 11%, or 10.5 works as well. 11.5, there we go. This at 1.9 milliseconds, so we're going to leave this as it is. And delay 2 is going to be 2 milliseconds. We're going to leave the cutoff and spread as they are, but we're going to drag the feedback down to 0%. This is what it sounds like now. Without the chorus. Massive difference, as you can hear. So next up, we're going to add some compression, some multiband compression, and we do this to add some more high frequencies to the sound and to get rid of some of the low frequencies. So we're going to leave this at multiband. We're going to drag this down. We're going to drag the lows down to -14 dB, and then the middle and high frequencies we're going to set to 9 dB and around 16 dB respectively, just like that. So now what I did is I dragged this up a little bit, and I drag this up a little bit. And what multiband compression is doing is it is combining both upwards and downwards compression. So if the signal goes above this set threshold, which is -30 dB, it will be compressed upwards. Or if it is quieter than -35 dB, it will be... And right here we can downwards. Basically select the ratio of that compression. We're going to leave the threshold values as they are, but we are going to change the attack and release to around 75% on the attack and around 78% on the release. There we go. Now it sounds like this. It's getting a bit loud, so I'm going to drag the volume down a little bit. Quick vital tip, you can click on this display to change the view. Next up, we're going to add some reverb and delay for the final touch of this sound. So we're going to add the reverb first. And please note that if you're using effects in Vital or in Serum or in Ableton as well, that the order of these effects matters. So if I put reverb before the compression, the reverb signal will be compressed. If I put compressor before the reverb, the compressed signal will have reverb on it. So keep that in mind. We're going to adjust the EQ a little bit, but you can also find the exact values if you download the preset again. So around there is what we wanted, and the high frequencies we can leave as they are. We're going to leave this as it is. We're going to pretty much leave this all as it is, but we're going to drag the chorus amount down so we don't have any more chorus because we already added one. And that is basically our reverb. The mix is a little bit too high right now, so we're going to reduce this to around 14%. Better. Now let's add a delay. So I noticed that the delay they used is probably something like 1/4, so a quarter note. We're going to leave this on mono. We're going to add some cutoff, just like that. And we're going to drag the mix down almost all the way to 9%. And then the feedback we can leave as it is. Now we're almost there. We have to map envelope 2 to one more value, which is going to be the mix of the chorus. So we're going to drag it right there and set this value to 3 o'clock. What I noticed in the original song is also that the sound is really mono, but in Vital there is no single button to make the sound more mono. So what we're going to do instead, I'm going to add a utility to this and adjust the width to around 40% to make it a little bit less wide. And this is our final result. So that's it for this tutorial. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. It's a little bit different since usually I use Serum, but I thought this time I would use Vital instead because it is a very popular synth and it's free. I also made a video recently about Vital versus Serum, the main differences, and whether Serum is still worth it or not. So if you're interested in that, you can click the pop-up banner on your screen. If you want to support me, you can go to my website or subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt Flank. Peace out.